The Black Death or the Red Plague. Call by any name, it was a horror. Imagine a sickness sweeping the world, leaving countless dead, villages deserted, cities silent except for the cries of the sick. People called it the Black Death because of the black spots it left on the skin. The plague was ruthless, killing young and old, rich and poor, with terrifying speed. The plague was spread by fleas, tiny insects that lived on rats. The Black Death was a global pandemic, killing millions across Asia, Europe, and Africa. The impact of the Red Plague was devastating. Entire families were wiped out in a matter of days. Villages that were once bustling with life were left abandoned, the silence broken only by the wind. The fear of the plague was everywhere. People were afraid to touch each other, afraid to go outside, afraid to even breathe. Trade and commerce ground to a halt as people were too afraid to travel or interact with one another. The Black Death challenged the very foundations of medieval society, leaving an indelible mark on art, literature, and the human psyche. It would be centuries before humanity began to understand the true nature of disease and develop the tools to combat such invisible enemies. Centuries after the Black Death, disease remained a constant threat. Smallpox, in particular, was a scourge. It left survivors disfigured with pockmarks if they survived at all. Enter Edward Jenner, an English country doctor with a curious mind. Jenner was a keen observer of nature and had a deep compassion for his patients. One day he noticed that milkmaids, the women who milked cows, often contracted a milder illness called cowpox. Cowpox caused blisters on their hands, but it was rarely fatal and didn't leave scars. What intrigued Jenner was that milkmaids who had cowpox seemed to be immune to smallpox. Jenner's curiosity and compassion would lead him to conduct an experiment that would change the course of medical history. The audacity of Jenner. Jenner decided to test his theory, although he knew his experiment would be controversial, even considered unethical by some. In 1796, he found the perfect test subject, the 8-year-old son of his gardener, James Phipps. He took fluid from a cowpox blister on a milkmaid's hand and then deliberately exposed young James to the cowpox virus. As expected, James developed mild cowpox symptoms. He had a fever and some blisters, but he recovered quickly. Weeks later, Jenner inoculated James with the deadly smallpox virus. Jenner's bold experiment was a gamble, a leap of faith based on observation and deduction. To Jenner's immense relief, and to the astonishment of the medical community, James Phipps did not develop smallpox. The cowpox exposure had worked. He had developed immunity. Jenner's daring experiment was a success. He had proven that inoculation with cowpox could protect against smallpox. He called his new procedure vaccination after the Latin word for cow, vacca. Jenner's discovery was met with a mixture of excitement and skepticism. Some hailed him as a hero, while others condemned his methods as dangerous and unorthodox. Despite the initial resistance, the news of Jenner's success spread rapidly. Vaccination offered a safe and effective way to prevent smallpox, a disease that had plagued humanity for centuries.